Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm Teeks88, and I'm joined by my fellow commentator, Proa007. Tonight, we're continuing the qualifier heats for GSA Super Mario Bros. So, just to recap the format of the tournament for those who may not know or are just joining us, we have a total of 18 participants for this event, each of who will be participating in qualifier heats over the course of this week. The top 16 recorded times during this qualifying period will advance in a single elimination bracket. So yesterday afternoon, we watched Rupert83, Pro007, and Supersonic put on a great show for us with their heats. And now we're prepared to keep things going as ibuba7, DaveLindo, Aweglib, and TheHaxor get ready to do their own runs. I do believe we're still in the process of setting up, so please hang tightly and we'll be starting shortly. In the meantime, is there anything else you want to add, Proa?
Well, just as a matter of background, all four of these runners are well versed Mario 3 in some form or another. And I come into this kind of from the broad side through the rando community, and I'm familiar with most of these runners through that. But these guys are all very good in warpless and 100%. TheHaxor has the best PB of the four racers today with a time of 1:11:06. Ibuba is 1:13:23. Aweglib is 1:14:03. DaveLindo actually is the least experienced in the 100% category. He said before the race his PB 3. The PB minutes on the note. So a very good time, and it is indicative of some particularly with it'll be interesting to see how with that, but still a very good player.
Yeah, DaveLindo, I've been keeping an eye on him for a while, and I know he's a really solid warpless runner. As Pro has said, he hasn't really had as much experience with the levels that are mutually exclusive to the 100% category. Right. But it's definitely one of those things where just the more you practice it and just do a couple of grinds through the levels, and I have no doubt that he'll pick up on it pretty quickly and save a good amount of time in the long run. So all four of these runners have really solid times in one way or another. They're all really good SMB3 players generally, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they put out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the final heat that we're going to be doing, so most of the times are in place. And I'm confident these all four runners will be making their way into the field. It's going to be largely a question of where they end up and who they'll end up drawing in their first round matches. Zabuki currently has the best time in the heats with a 1 hour 11-minute 50-second time. That going to put them in. So that if Haxor could make a play there, that'd be really good for him. So here we go.
Yep, that being said, we have our countdown, and all of our runners are fresh out of the gates. So we're here in 1-1. Each runner is going to take a moment to build P-speed right away, make their way over to the first Fire Piranha, boost into the clouds off that second Paracupa from the platform. This is a quick and easy way to avoid the obstacles on the ground that could slow you down, so it looks like all four of our runners were able to get through that no problem. Now we're making our way to 1-2. This has a pretty finicky strat to gain early P-speed. It requires running up the base of both hills at the beginning ever so slightly in order to start building your meter. You'll know that the strat work when you get 6 filled arrows as you cross over the first horizontal pipe, in which case you'll have liftoff by the time you reach the end of the second pipe. That strat will save you about 1 second, so it's a nice bonus to have, but if you don't get it, it's not worth resetting over. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. And there is a bit of a mild adjustment difference in strats. DaveLindo actually got the mushroom in 1-1. Everyone else picked up their mushrooms here in 1-3. So I think it's largely negligible as far as when you get it 1-1 or 1-3. I think 1-3 is probably a little quicker, but being big, save you potential damage boost, I suppose, in 1-2 if you do run into an unexpected problem. So 1-4 is our first of many auto scrollers. You don't see these. You don't see very many of these at all in the warpless category, largely because they're just major times.
Yeah, there's not going to be much going on in level 1-4. There is a bit of platform hopping and raccoon leaf that each of the runners will be picking up along the way, and that will of course come in handy for when they enter the fort in the next stage. It may also be worth noting that auto-scrollers are generally a good opportunity to keep an eye out for your score and your coin count, because there's always going to be that potential risk that you can get a coin chip later on. And just as a reminder, coin chips can spawn in place of one of the Hammer Bros on the world map, and this happens when your coin count is a multiple of 11, and the second to last digit of your score matches that coin count. So for example, it will spawn if your score ends in 80 and your coin count is 88, or if it ends in 90 and you get 99. And
Right.
coin chips can potentially pop up in worlds 1, 3, 5, and 6, so it's never too early to be wary of those numbers. No one wants to really think about doing mental math on the fly, but the time repercussions for encountering a coin chip can easily swing a race or cost you a PB, since you would otherwise have to play an auto-scroller as slow as the World 4 airship, and that'll cost you a good 45 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, it happens. It can only happen, I believe, in worlds 1, 3, 5, 6. So there is that kind of a cushion, but again, it is worth just keeping an eye out and being cognizant of not only your score, but I kind of have a rough idea of the coins you'll be encountering in certain levels where there could actually become a risk. And that easier said than done, but it is something you do learn with practice.
Looks like Aweglib got hit by the sticky slope in level 1-5.
Yeah.
That can happen. That can happen every once in a while when you're trying to navigate through that bottom tunnel. Sometimes you just get caught on a bad subpixel and just fall right into the piranha plant. Fortunately, in 1-6 you'll be able to pick up another mushroom, but unfortunately that'll cost them about 1 or 2 seconds.
TheHaxor doing a perfect Superman. Ibuba's setting up sort of the backup. I think Dave got it first try, and so did Aweglib. So everybody's more or less in sync at this point. I think TheHaxor might is ahead. Ibuba's in second, Aweglib third, and Lindo just finished off the Hammer Bro. He's coming in fourth. But everybody's pretty close to one another right now. That's nice to see.
Yeah, the interesting thing about level 1-6 is, as you saw before, Ibuba had to do a second cycle or so in order to get that P speed. Every once in a while, you can miss P speed by getting what's called frame ruled, and what that means is that as soon as you start running, by holding B and moving forward, the game checks your P speed every 8 frames. So if you're hitting that P speed checkpoint while you're running over the small gap, you'll fail to completely fill your meter and reach the Koopa. You can recalibrate by turning it back and starting another cycle, although each attempt will cost you about 4 seconds. So it doesn't happen terribly often as long as you're landing flush with those first 2 platforms. But there is still an element of luck to that, nonetheless.
TheHaxor lost his Fire Mario. Get a good pattern. So did I. Everybody's losing Fire Mario. TheHaxor is the first to get the wand at 5:14. Aweglib was second at 5:18, I believe, and Ibuba was like 1 second behind that, and Lindo's got it about 5:27 or so.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that Koopaling boss fights are coded with a small handful of fixed fighting patterns. For example, they can jump the moment you enter the fight, they can shoot the wand right away, or they can just walk towards you for a few seconds before doing anything else. And this matters, knowing what pattern you get. It'll indicate how you should approach fire killing them. And that pattern you get is determined by a timer that starts from the last level you completed to the frame upon which you enter the pipe in the airship.
A lot of trickiness as far as that goes. So DaveLindo has actually got a small advantage here. He's going to be able to fire kill Boom Boom in 2-4, provided he can hold on to it the whole way through. The others will not get that luxury, so that's going to gain Dave a couple of seconds. Fire kills on Boom Boom is much faster than jumping on him 3 times.
Yeah, I want to say it's roughly 4 second save if you're able to get the fire kill on Boom Boom.
Okay,
So we see a little bit of struggling with level 2-2. The first half of that level just involves making your way over to that hill, and you want to slide as far to the bottom of that slope as you can to garner the most speed, and then carry that momentum with you past the floating raft. And this is achieved by immediately tapping A each time you make contact with the ground. So once you're past that raft, you'll have to carefully time the length of your jumps so that you don't fall off into the water.
DaveLindo had a little trouble. He was going for early peace, but he didn't quite get it. But got the backup to work. Booba's helping himself to a mushroom here. So,
yeah, that P speed right in the beginning of the World 2 fort is really tricky because you have to really be careful with how you time your jumps and make sure that you're making the smallest ones possible. Just because the floor is so littered with dry bones, so you just want to give yourself as much surface space to work with.
Yeah, and you just saw Ibuba was just slightly ahead of DaveLindo going into Boom Boom fight because he didn't have Fire Mario. You actually saw Dave take the lead there at the end, and Ibuba's getting an early Hammer Bro, gets his music box.
Yeah, just a moment ago we saw Aweglib enter that first Hammer Bro fight with a star, and that'll save you about a second or so because you don't have to wait for the boomerang to leave the screen before grabbing the chest.
Right. But as with anything else, it is a question of when do you want to use those stars, because you only get a finite amount of them, because they're going to ignore the end card game, of course. That does mean that they have to be somewhat cognizant of how many they have and when they want to use them. And that can change, I suppose, depending on your situation and depending on when things happen. But I think our runners in general are going to have a specific idea of when they want to use them.
Yeah, I want to say that each runner has a preconceived idea of how they want to use those stars, but yeah, as Proa mentioned, that could also change depending on if you take damage or not, or if you feel like you would, if there's a certain strat that you would feel more comfortable with going into the level later on.
Right.
So it's always worth sacrificing a little bit of time every now and between if it in exchange for some more consistency.
Right. So Aweglib doing a great job with the other 2-4 speed strats. Dave having a little trouble by comparison, and actually taking a hit there. He overshot his jump.
Yeah, level 2-4 is one of those levels that still make me a bit nervous because it starts off with a really tightly timed jump running at P speed. So you want to use that jump to boost off those first set of Koopas past the Boomerang Bro and the Fire Piranha straight to the end. And it's especially scary because you may have to readjust your movements on the fly depending on how that first Boomerang Bro is standing. You could either stomp him, collide into him, or just move right past him, and you'll never know because he's off screen while you're in the air. So it's very easy to choke away whatever groove you had going and then just fall right into a nearby pit. I've certainly had my share of that issue.
Yeah. So Aweglib was actually the first to get the whistle, which of course they will not use because warping is not allowed in this category.
So yeah, each of the strats the runners will be making use of in the pyramid. The first of which is going to be boosting past the first block wall by running into it with a Buzzy Beetle shell, and then throwing it at the wall with just enough space between you to duck and sneak by. The game grants you a small window of invincibility when you're that close to the ricocheting shell, which is why you could see them get away without taking any damage. And the second strat, once you get to the upper level, is just allowing that second shell to drop down and break a path open for you. So it looks like Dave is having a little bit of trouble just duck sliding under that last wall. So
yeah.
he's making it through there pretty well though. So
Boob was having some trouble in 2-4. Actually stopped to get himself a mushroom. Probably gonna. I think he was thinking about stopping for a leaf, but then opted not to. So TheHaxor is the first to the World 2 airship. Aweglib's a few seconds behind.
Alright, so it looks like Ibuba's making his way to the World 2 airship, and David's making his way over to the Fire Bros. So yeah, each of these racers are now going to be facing Morton Koopa, so If they're able to get a good pattern, they'll be able to get the first 2 shots in with the fireball right away. Follow up with a third when he's in that small crevice, and then when he's in that crouching shell state, you just want to keep spamming away until he starts to make his next big leap and be able to kill him before he has a chance to do anything else. That'll save them a couple seconds if they can pull it off.
It's probably the hardest of the fire kills, though, so it's not the end of the world if you don't get it. And it is still paramount to try and hold on to this as long, Fire Mario, as long as possible. Because again, you want to use it for Boom Boom and 3F1, and Haxor finishes gets the one at 12-12. So yeah, he got the fire kill. Aweglib is about 6 seconds behind.
Yeah, Haxor got a little bounced back by that Morton shell, so it cost him a little bit of time, but not too much. Ending the ship with a 2:19 is still a solid time, so good for him on that front.
Uba's just finished off Morton. He did not go for the fire kill. He gets it at 12:37, so he's about 25 seconds behind Haxor. Dave is just about done with World 2 Airship.
All right, so Haxor's making his way into level 3-1. It's a pretty basic swimming level to start off with. You're just moving forward, steering clear of the bloopers, and making your way over the wall with to P-speed your way over the half of the level's water, and then effortlessly making your way to the exit pipe. An interesting thing about that level is you start off in midair, but if you're able to tap A on the very first frame that you have control over Mario, you can do a big leap in the air and then skip over a little bit of the water going into it. It's not a tremendous time save, but it's pretty swag nonetheless.
We're all about that. And speaking of swag, 3-2 P-speed, and Haxor going through it flawlessly. Aweglib is not going through speeds right. It is pretty tight, but it sure is awesome when you get to see it pulled off.
Yeah, 3-2 is a level that I'm sure a lot of runners had vetted at some point, and it's a common point of it's a common resetting point generally, and a lot of that can be attributed to the hitbox interactions between Mario and the Cheep Cheeps in the water. There are instances in which you can be directly on top of their sprite to stomp kill them, but if the acceleration speeds are too high at the moment you both make contact, the game will instead register that as damage and you'll fall right through them. As we saw Haxor do before, the optimum strat for that level is to do that early P-speed. So you want to land flush with that first wooden beam as soon as it turns left upon hitting the elbow. And if it's executed correctly, you can get P-speed as soon as you get to the end of those the set of donut lifts. And then you have to be really meticulous with your jump so that you could bounce the Cheep Cheeps all the way to the exit.
Mm-hmm. And Ibuba got a little bit of bad luck with his hammer bros. One of them has already gone off screen into the right side of the map, and while it isn't as big a deal as it would be in, say, Warpless, you want to get rid of the hammer bros as quickly as you can because that saves time between transitions, so you don't have to wait for them to move.
Yeah, a runaway bro in Warpless is particularly catastrophic. It's because you wouldn't be able to use the cloud to cross that bridge,
right?
Because it would be closed, and you need that extra turn from fighting that second hammer bro, and then make the most use of your items. But at least if you get a runaway bro in 100%, you could still keep moving forward. But that hammer bro is going to stay on that map a little bit longer, and you're still going to lose a couple seconds from every movement that he makes between levels.
Right, and Dave actually lost his Fire Flower in 3-3, so no fire kill for him against Boom Boom, so that's going to cost him a few seconds. Nobody got gulped by Boss Bass in 3-3, I'm happy to report. That did happen yesterday in 3-3. I got gulped in 3-8, so still time, but good start so far on the Boss Bass front.
Indeed. So, looks like everyone's closing out on levels 3-5 and 3-4. Doing 3-5 is especially doing that first is especially advantageous because you could then just damage boost out of the raccoon tail as we just saw Ibuba do, and that'll allow you to clear that first gap where that body of water is. and that'll allow you to just run through the rest of the stage, steering clear of those Goombas and Spinies along the way. You just got to be careful, carefully measure how you measure your jumps, landing on that upward slope, because that could cause you to come to a dead halt if you hit a bad pixel like we saw in 1-5 earlier.
Right.
And without that speed, you wouldn't be able to make the height needed to cross that water gap.
So right now, Aweglib and TheHaxor are both in 3.6, another auto scroller you don't see in Warpless. It's an interesting little level, a lot of tricky platforming, particularly towards the end. And again, good time to watch your coin count. Looks like both of them are fine as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, 3.6 is a nice cool-off period, and it's a good opportunity to grab a Fire Flower right in the beginning if at any point you were taking damage. And you could also have some fun taking some shots at some Koopas along the way. It's also one of the more noteworthy levels in the game to highlight some graphical glitches where you can turn the items blue, the item boxes blue, or the donut lips green. It's also a good opportunity, as Pro has said, to keep an eye on your coin count. And the only real place you really have to be cautious about is the spinner right at the end, since it's one careless jump can cause you to be thrown straight to your death, and you never want to die at the end of an auto-scroller.
No. Take it from me, I am Exhibit A in that from yesterday. I died in 5.6 at the end. It was a terrible, terrible loss. Chad called it Moldy Donut Level 3.6.
Yes, that's right, Moldy Donut Level.
So
yeah, I was just gonna say, TheHaxor and Aweglib are making their way through the World 3 fort right now. There's only two things you really have to watch out for. One is the power swim right in the beginning. You want to do a medium jump right from where you're standing, and then duck slide into that first bit of shallow water, and then just slide your way right into the pipe. That'll save you a couple frames. And then you just want to navigate past the stretch booze and make sure you don't bump into any walls, because when you're swimming, you lose that momentum pretty easily, and that can cost you 1 or 2 seconds. All right, and TheHaxor's making his way through level 3-8. One of the few levels you don't really need to incorporate P-Speed for as a strat. The objective here is just to clear those 2 ice blocks as soon as you can, and then just start jumping immediately every time you come in contact with the water. And as long as you're maintaining rhythm, Big Bertha will at the very most get close to you, but never have the opportunity to eat you.
In theory, anyways. Chat was asking how do the heat work. It's pretty simple. Everybody gets one race just to see what your qualifying time is, and of the I think it's 18 racers, we actually have 16 advanced. So, and from there it'll go into a single elimination mode. Get out your H's, incidentally, chat.
Yeah, 3.9 is the home of the infamous H jump. So, as we saw TheHaxor and Aweglib do pretty successfully, they wanted to build P-Speed right away and then maneuver past those platforms and bob-ombs in such a way that they can position themselves just past that set of note blocks so they can have the height and distance to clear that gap, no problem. It's easier said than done, but if you make it, it will save a good chunk of time. I want to say about 5 to 7 seconds. And it also allows you to avoid a hefty amount of lag due to throwing all those ice blocks to make your way over to the pipe.
So, and the other key thing is want to keep Fire Mario for this Koopa fight, because Wendy is probably the easiest to get a fire kill on because it's a flat arena, and it also is significantly easier than having to do it the other way, which is jumping on her, because her rings will make things complicated for you in her arena. It's a tricky thing to time.
Yeah, not only do you have to worry about those rings that are always bouncing around on the screen and never disappear until she's defeated, but sometimes she'll start doing her moonwalk jumps, and you can get tripped up if you're both trying to jump each other at the same time.
Yeah.
So it looks like DaveLindo and ibuba were both able to clear the H jump as well, so GG's to them.
Yeah. So everyone got the H. TheHaxor underway with Wendy, 10 fireballs, no problem. Get on to 2106, so continuing to maintain a solid lead.
All right, so World 4 will be coming up. I think it's one of the more popular worlds among SMB3 players. It's where everything is big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is big, and the level design in general is quite imaginative. There are a lot of interesting things, both from a casual and from a speedrunning standpoint, that really does seem to appeal to a lot of players. So yeah, so we have a 14-second gap between Aweglib and Haxor going into World 4. Ibuba is probably going to be about 1 minute behind. Dave is probably going to be about, 2 minutes, I'd say.
All right, so Haxor's making his way through 4-1. It has a pretty fun P-Speed stretch. You want to just grab the first big Koopa shell, or at least clear a path with those fireballs so that you can land flush with every surface you run on. And that way you can build P-Speed in time to boost past the waterfall onto the upper platforms through the carefully timed jumps, and then land right in front of the exit pipe. It didn't look like Haxor got it on his way through. 4-2, it's a pretty fun stage to run through with nothing terribly complicated going on. You just want to make sure that you're at least grabbing one of those ice blocks in the beginning to take out one of the two fire piranhas, and then make sure you have those carefully measured jumps to land right in front of the exit. It's generally advisable to approach the end of the level from the upper platforms and clouds, as you never know if you'll get a surprise from one of the cheeps below.
Dave got a little tangled up there, and now he gets through it, but get a little perilous there for Dave, but does manage to get rid of Wendy in a hair under 23 minutes, and Haxor going through, I think, probably the most popular speedrunning level in high fashion, 4-3.
Yeah, 4-3 is one of the more aesthetically appealing levels to run through, both for the runner and for the person watching. More often than less, that first sledge bro will try to jump at the start, so you can just easily run right underneath him. You could shoot a fireball right away, and that's at the start, just as a good safety measure in case he stays on the ground. But it's not necessary, just because there's enough space between you and the sledge bro to react to either situation. But once everything is executed precisely, from the stomps on the Buzzy Beetles to the carefully timed jumps on those small platforms, it just looks really, really nice.
Dave is kind of going with a slightly different approach to 4-1. He's trying to get some P-Speed strats. It didn't quite work out the way I think he wanted, so but he did pick up a mushroom, get himself back to that.
All right, so it looks like Aweglib's taking a little detour in 4F1 in order to grab that fire flower for Boom Boom, and that fire flower is going to help him later on for 4-6 and the second fort coming up.
Right. He had a little trouble in 4-3. Wasn't able to get the optimized P-Speed strats like Haxor and Ibuba did, so that kind of slowed him down a bit. Dave kind of going with a backup play here with 4-2, taking his time to make sure he gets the P-Speed strats down.
Ibuba was almost able to pull off that 4F1 speed strat successfully, but unfortunately he got nicked by the thwomp at the last minute.
Yeah.
So he took a little bit of damage. It looks like our 4 runners are making their way through. Well, 3 of our runners are making our way through World 6 right now.
Yeah. Haxor currently is holding the lead, 6-2 right now. He finished World 5 at 39-16. Ibuba is in second. He's at 40-21, and just death. So, commentators curse for all. And Aweglib is at 40-29. And we actually had another death. Dave is having a really hard time in 5F2. He died twice in that level. So, been a rough go for our runners in some respects.
Yeah, we see Aweglib making his way through level 5-3, no problem at all. It's another one of those levels where you don't really need any P-Speed strats. You do have an opportunity to get P-Speed along the way, but it is pretty tricky to pull off, and it requires running across several of those really small gaps. Carefully timing your fire kill on the Koopa so that you can maintain your forward momentum and the P meter itself. That would be the difference between a 289 exit and I believe a 292 exit. But
Right.
it's one of those things where if you don't get it, it's really not the end of the world. So 5-2, we have another auto scroller. It's another one of those opportunities to keep a good eye on your coin count. It's whenever I do my runs, it's usually the last point at which I really try to be careful because you don't really gather that many coins in level in 6F1, and you're guaranteed to collect 5 along the way, doing it optimally in 6-4.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I'm looking at Dave's screen, and he's got 44 coins, and oh yeah, his tens column was a 4, but he's going to get 2 coins automatically because of the lack to at the end of 5-9, so we should be fine.
Yeah, plus I think he killed the Skybro already that has the music box, so
right.
Even if he does have the wrong numbers, it shouldn't really affect him until he gets to World 6, in which time he'll have another opportunity to recalibrate.
Yeah, he should recalibrate just in general because, again, Lakitu will give him a couple of coins, so he'll be at 46 instead of 44. So there really shouldn't be any other circumstance where he's going to run into this issue. Haxor's in 6-6 right now, a beloved level among us rando people. Though in vanilla, it's a little less taxing as far as enemies go, but still tricky. Still some fairly precise movement.
Yeah, it still has a pretty significant margin for error because the optimal strat does require you to enter the level as Small Mario, and you want to start building your P speed right away, running down those hills right in the beginning of the cave, and not bumping to anything along the way. So that way you can do a power swim as soon as you enter the water, and then if you are able to move fast enough, you're able to despawn the middle piranha plant pipe that's right in the towards the end, and that'll save you a little time since you don't have to walk on the bottom of the sea surface, the sea floor.
Aweglib took a death in 6-4 there, went off the edge, jump button, input must have been eaten or something because he went straight down.
Yeah, and it looks like Haxor lost a couple seconds along the way because he wasn't able to get the despawn on those 2 nippers in level 6-5, so he had to drop down again and grab a Koopa shell. It's not a terrible loss. Worst case scenario, he could have taken damage and then had to run back to that one room with the pipe to get another power-up. But fortunately, if there was any point at which you had to take damage in 6-5, at least he did it towards the end of the level anyway, and he was already right there.
So he's on his way to 6-7, another auto scroller, and there's some tricky platforming here too that he's going to have to kind of navigate around. And this is also one of the few times where it is optimal to have Raccoon Mario as opposed to Fire Mario because they're going to try and do a small, not really a sequence break. They're going to try and skip a bit of 6F2, which you need to fly to make it happen.
Yeah, we'll be seeing that coming up. Meanwhile, Ibuba and Aweglib just finished up level 6-6, and DaveLindo is now making his way through 6-1. So we'll be able to see if, looks like he's getting that P-Strat pretty good. Oh, he took damage from that one spiny egg. But he was still able to get the majority of this Peace Speed strat along the way, and he's not going to need an additional power up until he enters that fort.
Right.
So he should be in good shape for 6-2 and 6-3.
Right. Yeah. One strat, and I used this yesterday, 6-1, that some have done, is to use a star at the beginning of 6-1, kind of let you power your way through that opening section if you're not quite comfortable with some of the flower bits you might have to do. Like, that's a good backup.
Yeah, usually when you're doing the fire strat in 6-1, you want to be careful about where that wobbling piranha plant with the spiny egg is positioned. If it's to the left or to the right, and that'll determine where you're able to jump so that you can safely make it over to that pipe. But a good safety measure would be to use your star if you're not terribly confident with that.
So, Aweglib and ibuba are basically synced at 6-7. But I can't even really tell who's leading right now as far as those two are concerned. TheHaxor just finished off 6-8.
Yeah, 6-8. You want to grab the ice block as soon as you can right in the beginning, and then clear a path for you on that series of really small hills, because that way you'll be able to avoid a lot of the lag frames that come up as you're trying to build P speed, and that could affect whether you're actually able to successfully fill your P meter or not, regardless of if you're landing flush with that to the far left of that platform. And you want to have that P speed so that you can clear that gap and make it over that second H jump in the game. And then be able to clear that Buzzy Beetle stomp, and then make your way to the end.
TheHaxor holding on to his P speed in 6-10, which can be fairly tricky because it's on top of everything else. You got ice physics to contend with, and that can screw you up if you're not careful.
Yeah, 6-10 is one of the more annoying strats in the game because you want to carry your raccoon tail into the beginning of the level, and then fly up and then grab the fire flower as you're making your way up, breaking through the blocks. But it's also very possible just to jump the wrong way and then take damage and then fall right into the pit. But even beyond that, you want to maintain P speed while grabbing those ice blocks and making your way past those buster beetles that are trying to come after you.
Yeah, I'm loving this sync between ibuba and Aweglib right now. It's like looking into a mirror.
Yeah, definitely.
Dave finished off 6F1, so he's slowly working his way through.
He's still a couple stages behind, but it looks like he's starting to get back into his groove because he's now starting to pull off the strats pretty successfully. He gets that early P speed in 6-4, and he's going to carry that with him into the end zone. So really good job as far as that goes. So we're coming up on... Haxor's coming up on the airship for World 6, so he's going to be coming up against Lemon Koopa. This is one of the more unique airships in which you're able to potentially clip into that wall that he's going to be coming up on. Doesn't look like he's going to be going for it, but if he was able to get it, he would be able to be on that upper platform out of sight for about 10 seconds or so, and he'll be able to avoid those Spitfires that he's making his way through right now. It doesn't really save any time, obviously, because it's an auto-scroller, but it is swag.
Yeah. And speaking of swag, we're coming up on 7-1, which has one of the more memorable clips in the game, where they're going to be trying to clip through a doorway to save themselves from having to play 7-1, which is a vertical stage with a lot of aggravating platforming. So why do that when you can clip through the door?
Yeah, it looks like Haxor decided to take a safe route with the Lemon Koopa fight by just doing the jump kills and then bouncing the green balls to get them out of his way. You could do a fire kill in which you could just shoot the fireballs and parachutes right in his face, and then as you're shooting 5 and 6, stomp him. So then when he's in that crouch shell position, you could just land those last 4 as soon as possible and then save about 2 seconds for that fight. But it looks like he's been on pretty good pace for the majority of this run right now, so I don't think he's too worried about that. So He's going to be making his way over to 7-1. He's going to try to attempt to wall clip right here. Now, when you enter that door and you go through 7-1 normally, that level will cost you about 50 to 51 seconds, depending on how optimally you get through it. But if you're able to clip on your first try, as he's attempting to do right now, that could save you up to 36 seconds. I want to say it took him about 5 or 6 tries just now. 7?
7 by my count, yeah.
Okay, so it's not terribly ideal, but it still did save him a bit of time.
Yeah, what is it, like 20-something jumps, and then it starts to actually put you in the red as far as time goes?
I think past 13 you want to start worrying about it.
Okay. So 7-2, another level where it is not uncommon to see stars be used, as far as... Okay, so he's over the chasm. Aweglib and ibuba are both dealing with Lemmy. Aweglib's going to be done first. 52-17. Ibuba's about 2 seconds behind.
So yeah, we saw TheHaxor struggle a little bit to build that P-speed right in the beginning. So you want to use that fire to take out that first nipper and then start building your P meter. And the speed that you get from your P-speed will also grant you extra height to make it past the note block bridge. So that would save you a significant amount of time if you're able to clear that gap. 7-3 is one of the more straightforward levels in terms of execution. You just want to have some carefully measured jumps, bounce on the Goombas and the Koopa shells whenever you can, and then just run straight from left to right. So we have Aweglib and ibuba taking their shot at 7-1 right now. Meanwhile, TheHaxor enters 7-5 with the P-wing. And that's going to be especially helpful. He wants to hold on to a Koopa shell as soon as he gets to that upper level right now. So he'll be able to see the same strat we saw in the pyramid, in which he breaks one of the blocks and then uses his temporary invincibility to go past the ricochet, and then he'll be able to avoid the invisible block bridge. So he could just fly over straight to the exit.
We saw quite a contrast in 7-1. Ibuba got it on his 6th try. Aweglib needed, I think, 16 to actually break through, but so it worked, but it came at a bit of a cost. DaveLindo's having trouble 6-5 right now. I thought he did this stage already.
So TheHaxor's making his way through 7-4 right now, infamously regarded as the Sea Creature song, the Sea Creature level.
Yeah.
So the way those fish and the bloopers spawn in this level is going to be RNG. So he wants to be careful how he maneuvers past them, and you could potentially bait the bloopers to move in a certain direction so that you can get them off screen quicker. And that'll help reduce a bit of the lag, which could definitely add up to a couple seconds.
So Dave has stopped at the Mushroom House above 6-5 to get himself a hammer suit, which he will use against Bowser in the final level, and it's only 5 hammers to kill Bowser, which is great, and it's certainly faster than 35 fireballs, and probably a little on the whole safer, though it isn't exactly faster, but pick your poison as far as that goes. So Booba is in 7-5. He's almost finished. Aweglib is about half a stage behind. TheHaxor is just about finished with 7-4.
Yeah, he makes his way out with a 188 pipe. It looks like he was able to hold on to his raccoon tail, and that's going to come in handy for when he does 7F1 and the flower that's coming up, so he can grab the P-wing.
Yeah.
So since he has been pretty conservative with his P-wings thus far, and he's going to be able to hold on to this tail in the meantime, he'll have 1 P-wing left over if he decides to fly over half of the maze in 7-9, as opposed to just doing wall clips all the way through.
Mm-hmm. I know it's a little slower, but I've found to be useful is playing 7-4 first, and then doing 7-5 second. because with the P-Wing, you're guaranteed to have your tail for 7F1 and the Piranha. Granted, it's a little slower because of screen transitions, but it certainly is safer, and you get to use Fire Mario in 7.4 to help kind of clear the decks a little bit and reduce potential lag in the process. But that's what I found to be successful for me, but I can't speak for other people.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. You get 2 opportunities to grab a Fire Flower when you're in 7.4, so you could use those fireballs to clear a bunch of those enemies and do a little bit of lag reduction, as you had mentioned before. And at least when you do the P-Wing in 7.5, you'll be guaranteed that that tail for the later stages.
Right. So Haxor is in 7.7 now. He's in the home stretch of World 7. DaveLindo is just entered Carpet 4th, 6th, 4th, 3.
Alright, so we saw Haxor do a little bit of a damage boost right in the beginning, so he wants to ditch that shell anyway, just because it's going to slow him down, since the P-Speed is going to be on a fixed timer anyway. And if you're fast enough, you could just duck under that bottom pipe, and then you could skip that 3rd star cycle, and you'll have just enough time to make your way over to the exit pipe, which you was able to do successfully.
Ooh, oh, Ibuba lost his raccoon in 7 in the Piranha stage. Actually, Aweglib got bodied by Big Bertha in 7.4, so he lost it too.
All right, so he still has 2 P-Wings in reserve, so he can use those 2 for that and for 7.6. But if he was planning on flying over 7.9, I think he kind of missed his opportunity as far as that's concerned. But he'll still be able to, depending on his approach, he'll still be able to be in good shape for that.
Yeah. Oh. Aweglib is about just a few seconds ahead of Ibuba. Dave has just started the World 6 airship. He's playing about 8. He's going to be about 9 minutes behind at least the TheHaxor, and probably 6, 7, or 8 minutes behind Ibuba and Aweglib. So Ibuba is playing is playing 7-8 first.
So Haxor had a couple hiccups in the beginning of 7-8 because he took damage and he bumped a couple of the pipes along the way, but he was able to scoop up that hammer suit pretty well. So he's planning on using hammer strats for the rest of the game. So this is one of the cooler show-off levels, 7F2 coming right up. So he wants to have a clear path for him with those Piranha plants. He's doing a really good job sniping them out, and then he's going to build P-Speed and then try to hold on to it past those 2 walls that are going to be coming up and get that dry bones out of his way. Looked like he lost P-Speed for a slight second there, but he was able to build it right back and then just take out Boom Boom. He didn't get the Kobe shot, which basically means that you shoot the hammer from that narrow hallway, and then if you're lucky, you'll be able to kill him before the fight even starts. But unfortunately, it took him a second shot, so it lost him a second, but it was still a really good fort overall. The bottom line is that he kept his hammer suit, and that's going to be crucial as he makes his way through World 8.
Uba's going for the pipe clip. Gotta be a little careful here with these red Paragoombas, but he should be okay. But he's going for it. Having a little trouble, though, with his second pipe clip. And
sometimes those duck jumps can be a little finicky.
Yeah. He took one shot at the last one. Like, nah, I'm not doing this. Said, okay, I'm gonna move on.
So it didn't look like Dave had a Fire Flower going into 7-2, so he used a star in the beginning to take out that Nipper and start building that P-Speed.
Right.
Had a small hiccup along the way, took a little bit of damage from, I think, one of the Nippers in that path full of pipes, but he got a 289 pipe, which is still a really good time for 7-2. So he could still remain small Mario for 7-3. That's not going to affect him as long as he doesn't take damage. He could still maintain his P speed, and then he'll be able to transition into that P wing as soon as he enters 7-5. So
Right.
he's still doing pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. So both ibuba and Aweglib are in 7F2. Ibuba's about a half a stage ahead, give or take.
Yeah, Aweglib's going to get a nice little boost from that star he was able to pick up along the way.
Yeah, ibuba did the same as well, and it worked out very nicely for both of them. Ibuba's finished off Boom Boom. Dave is in 7-5.
So yeah, it looks like both ibuba and Aweglib damage boosted past those dry bones, which is what you want to do, because you'll be able to get 2 power-ups on the airship anyway, so they'll both be guaranteed a fire flower going into World 8.
Right. So TheHaxor is just about finished now with World 7. He's got Ludwig, no problem. Hammers do not kill Koopa Kids, unfortunately, so he's done at 102.33. So he's looking at about a low 113, I'd say, if all goes well.
Yeah, I want to say high 112, low 113. That sounds about right.
Yeah, so that would put him in third, roughly speaking, as far as the heat times. Spooky has the top time at 111.50, and Mitch is right behind him at 112.04. So, but it is going to somewhat hinge on him holding on to his Hammer Bros suit for the rest of World 8, which he is more than capable of doing.
Yeah, as soon as he was able to make it past 7F2, he was pretty much past the worst of it. So,
yeah,
7F2 has pretty much been a gatekeeper for Hammer strats. So, there is still some opportunities where you could take damage, but I know that at Haxor's skill level, the chances of that happening are pretty narrow.
Yeah, and I could see, like, I don't know, a random cheap getting him at the third hand stage, or, you know, a bad jump in Air Force, but that's really about it.
Yeah, some of those rocky wrenches can be pretty sneaky if you're not on top with those jump executions.
Yeah, and those are really the only, like, potential choke points that I can imagine, and, you know, but by then, you know, if you can get through Air Force, you're fine, because even if you somehow get clipped along the way, you know, there's a good chance you'll pick it back, at least get a Fire Mario back, and not lose too much time in the process.
Yeah, there's about a 5-second difference in Bowser kills between doing the fire and doing the hammers. But there is also that possibility that you could get a bad Bowser pattern that will hit you no matter what. If he just jumps at the wrong angle. So hammer is definitely the safest way to go.
Aweglib lost Fire Mario to Ludwig, so that's gonna hurt. 104.52 for Aweglib. ibuba was 104.37. Dave having a little trouble getting P speed in 7F1. TheHaxor had no problems in tanks.
Yeah, the good thing about both tanks is that there's not really much you have to worry about as far as the enemies go. You could just stay in the front row and just keep moving forward, and then just jump and shoot as necessary.
Although I think I'm kind of speaking for myself on this point. You kind of find a rhythm with how everything, you know, happens, and you work to that rhythm, and you kind of use that as kind of build a routine that you're comfortable with. Dave got where the pipe in Piranha 2 was.
It may also be worth noting that there's one particular section in the first tank where you can actually save a little bit of time, and that's by reducing lag by killing the bob-ombs before they have a chance to explode. There's one section between two cars where you could just do a continuous cycle of just bonking the bombs against each other. So HaxOr's going to get his hammer kill on Boom Boom.
Like, as fast as fireballs are, one hammer to 5 fireballs. You know, pretty simple. And learning how to throw the hammers is, I think, a big thing. Like, once you figure that out, it's straightforward. Damage boost by Dave at 7-8. Get through that opening piranha, what we call in the rando community, Piranha Alley. So, the damage boost there, and he's out. So, HaxOr is underway with the hand stages. He got force grabbed on the second one. I don't think he did on the first one, but getting a force grab is a 2.5 time loss.
Yeah, hand grabs, well, as everyone knows, can be a big swing in warpless runs because each level takes double-digit amount of seconds to complete. The first one being 16, the second one 15, and the third one 19. But you still want to avoid getting the hand animations nonetheless, because each hand animation is on the map is going to cost you 1.5 seconds.
Right. So, Aweglib was trying to get his hands on Fire Mario, was unsuccessful, so pity. So, HaxOr is underway in Air Force. Try and clear the area as quickly as you can so you don't have to deal with any rocky wrenches, as you mentioned earlier.
Right, so Dave is making his way through 7-9 of Small Mario. Looks like he's going to grab a mushroom along the way, and that'll come in handy for when he enters 7.
One more rock. Okay, HaxOr is clear. He is all set.
Gonna get his second snipe on Boom Boom. Hope he doesn't overkill it.
Ooh, miss.
And speaking of commentators,
yeah.
So yeah, this could happen every once in a while. You could shoot multiple hammers, and if you see, the thing about the hammers is, whenever they come in contact with a boss, they do damage on every single frame in which they're in contact. So, Boom Boom has he has a fixed health value that's unique from just doing jump kills. So if he takes too much damage on a single frame, he could go in well below what his health would actually have to be in order to convert into that question mark coin. And then it would just take multiple hammers more in order to cause them to explode and then transform into an upside-down coin. So his only option right now, in order to save time, was just to do a normal jump kill, which was unfortunate. Yeah.
And the more unfortunateness, he got a triple by mistake in 8-1 with 3 mushrooms. So had to suffer through the animation of getting being told he had 2 extra lives. Again, not fatal. He's well on his way to a very, very good time, but it's got to be a little his chagrin. It's like, oh, really?
Exactly.
You do that?
Yeah, it didn't look like HaxOr made any major mistakes along the way. So just a couple small hiccups, but nothing he couldn't recover from.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you got it. You're fine.
I was just going to say, we just saw him complete level 8-2 right now, which is especially, it's really swag to do with the hammer suit, because as we saw, he was able to take out the Angry Sun, which is vulnerable to hammers. And then he was, by just bouncing on the underside of that last note block, he was able to continue his momentum to just snipe out those 3 piranha plants going up the hill.
So, HaxOr had no trouble in 8-4, got the 1 cycle with P-Switch, and is now just 2 stages away from finishing the job.
So yeah, he's making his way over to Super Tank right now. So as mentioned before with their earlier tank, he could just stay in the front row and then just keep walking forward and then just jump as necessary, kicking a couple bob-bombs along the way as needed. So since he doesn't have the fireball, because the hammer the hammer suit throws the hammers at that upward angle, so he won't be able to kill the rocky wrenches that way as you would with the fireball. So he's just going to have to play a little bit of whack-a-mole here.
Yeah, and ibuba just sailed through 8-1. He used a star at the beginning just to kind of give himself a little bit of protection. He's an 8-2. He's going to have to navigate around the Angry Sun and Piranhas, but no problem. Sails across the chasm. One of my favorite jumps in the game. Getting that right, it's always satisfying.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, especially if you're on a good pace in an any percent no wrong warp run. You want to hold on to that fire flower, because that can cost you a couple seconds if you need to grab it again in the fort.
Yeah. So, last Boom Boom is down. TheHaxor is on his way to Bowser's Castle.
So we'll see how he approaches this. He has 3 ways that he could go and approach Bowser's Castle. It looks like he took the most straightforward one through. He didn't risk any time loss if, God forbid, he missed the elevator clip.
Yeah.
But he did get the People's Clip, which is pretty free for pretty much any player. So you just grab the 1-up and then just do the failsafe mechanic to go past that wall. So he maintains his P-speed, he makes his way through that donut room, dodging those fireballs, and he's going to land those final hits on Bowser and get your GGs out for TheHaxor.
Yeah, he's going to be just under 113, I think. So GG's to the TheHaxor. There it is, 112.59.
Very nice run.
Just
Trip
under the wire.
hands. I see that your RNG has not improved.
Really good stuff from TheHaxor. Looks like we'll be, and as far as I know, we're going to be doing some interviews for all 4 racers, but we'll wait until everyone else finishes their runs, and then we'll get them all in together. Shouldn't be that much longer since everyone's on pretty good pace in World 8 right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's up, guys?
What's up, TheHaxor?
Hey, there he is. GG.
Everybody's in World 8, and actually they're just 1 level back. Okay. Aweglib and Booba. Dave's, Oh, man. Something must have went wrong with Dave.
He had a couple of hiccups. I know he had some trouble in 5. F2 was giving him problems. There were a few other places. I know he's not as practiced, and said before, and that 100% is not really his category, so to speak. So, there were moments where he was really, really terrific and really playing extremely well, but that lack of kind of knowing where everything is 100%. As similar as it is to the other categories, it is quite its own beat. Effects, I'd say. But.
Alright, looks like ibuba is going to be finishing second.
Unfortunately, some of them are really tough.
Yeah. So yeah, ibuba well on his way to about just a hair over a 115, I'd say. About a 115.
He's going to take a couple. He's going to take a couple extra seconds to do the fire kill on Bowser, and it looks like he's in a good position, so we should be able to land that final shot. So. Time as soon as he enters the door, which should be in about 15 seconds.
Aweglib not far behind. Dave is in Navy right now, about halfway through that. So, there it is, 1:15:10 for ibuba.
Alright, get your GGs out for ibuba.
Aweglib is going to be about 30-40 seconds behind. It's amazing. Those guys were in sync. Those two were in sync for pretty long stretches at one point. I remember like 6-8, they were like running right in tandem with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, very fine run by Aweglib. Finishes with a time of 1:15:50. GG's to him. So that just leaves Dave, who is just finished off Navy.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to grab another Fire Flower until the third hand. But I mean, yeah, it kind of makes the first hand a little tricky. He could, in theory, equip a star here, and it would make the first hand very easy if he's got one.
He should. He's gonna forego that though, and ooh, he gets hit. I didn't expect the giant hammer bro to jump, and so he's gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, you normally don't have to worry about the hammer bro or the sledge bro jumping as long as you're getting past those hammer bros fairly efficiently. But unfortunately, it took a little too long with trying to get that power up and trying to navigate past those blocks. So
yeah, this will help a lot. Yeah, that second sledge bro, or I mean, that first sledge bro here at the end. He's the guy you never know what he's gonna do until you get there, unless you get there fast, like you mentioned. Yeah, it's like a nice backup if you have stars to just use them going into that stage if you don't have Fire Flower or Hammer Suit. Even if you have Hammer Suit, some people have a little bit of trouble sniping the Hammer Bros, so it's just a nice safety measure.
yeah, from my experience, I noticed that if you bounce off of that Fire Bro right in the beginning, then as soon as you touch the ground, there's a very slight delay in your next projectile shot. So sometimes that could cause a little bit of delay getting past those Hammer Bros.
Yeah, you can tell he doesn't have to pick up a power-up here very often because he forgot where it was. He definitely has picked it up before, but it's probably been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing the downside to having to pick that one up, unfortunately. You're kind of at the mercy of these cheap and what the RNG decides to do. But he'll have a good strat here in 8-1. What he can do when he gets there anyway is he can just equip a leaf like he did there, or if he still has a leaf for Big Mario, he can just grab the power block there at the beginning, and it's not too terribly slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I was in that situation, I would take damage from Boom Boom to ditch the tail as I'm going into 8-1, and then equip a star, and then you'll be able to maintain that PSP without having to worry about taking out any enemies.
Yeah, it's not a bad option either, because you can just damage boost in 8-2 and then just grab another leaf and, you know, grab the fire power up in the fort. That's another good option too.
It all balances itself out. So
Yeah, it looks like he did exactly that. He took some deliberate damage from Boom Boom, so we'll see how he handles 8-1 next.
So Haxor, just based on everything, it looks like you're going to be the third seed with your time. Is that about what you were expecting to be in that kind of 2 to 4 range?
I was kind of hoping to either be number 1 or number 4 to set up a final showdown with Mr. Number 2, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with my time overall. I'm really disappointed. That run should have been a lot better. Just the fact that I didn't die. You'll probably notice the one time I did die, it was actually intentional because I played the levels in the wrong order for me. So, yeah, I had a lot of things that just I probably lost over a minute just due to taking damage in boss fights, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know you had a little trouble here and there with like a couple of the Koopa kids and what have you, but overall, I mean, it was pretty solid, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't think he made any. Ooh.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so it didn't look like he really made any catastrophic mistakes. Just a couple small hiccups along the way that just kind of added up over the course of the run.
Yeah, unfortunately, the damage I took against Larry ended up costing me, I don't know, roughly 20 seconds in the first 2 worlds because I just, you know, there's nowhere to re-grab it. And then, of course, I got like the worst jump RNG I've ever seen from a boomerang, bro. I mean, I don't know what I was supposed to do there.
Yeah.
He he threw his boomerang like late, and then he ran to the end of the platform and jumped right away. So like I could wait for him, and then he throws another boomerang, and that was, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's why you got to maintain your fire.
Yeah, I hear ya. So it looks like Dave has grabbed his fire flower and he's making his way through the World 8 fort. So we'll see if he gets that one cycle with the P-switch.
Challenging for him.
And he's
Alright.
able to get it.
Hello?
Hello.
Ayo.
Hi.
The time wasn't too bad. It kind of sounded like you had a rough time in World 4, but you're what
One
within a couple minutes
thing
of your
I'll
PB.
say about this run is that it is now over.
So we're gonna look at it.
That is the silver lining. Yes, it is over. Your suffering is ended.
Yeah, I had a gold World 3 and decided to follow up that performance with probably the worst World 4 I've ever done in terms of mistakes. So, and just, I don't know, a lot of other dumb stuff happening along the way since then. Like, honestly, I practiced my late game before the race, but clearly it wasn't enough, because early game was okay, but late game was just really, really bad.
Yeah.
All right, so DaveLindo is making his way through Super Tank, and he's firing away those fireballs at the Rocky Wrenches, otherwise known as the Aweglib strat with the really long name.
That's gone through a few changes over the years, over the months, hasn't it?
It's the world famous first day affiliate Aweglib Super Tank Strat TM with a Vengeance. I believe that's the official name right now.
I think so. I don't even know it. Oh no, it is patented. Did you mention it was patented? That's very important.
I did say
that's
TM.
the one part I did.
I did say TM.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
All right.
That's because other people have tried to claim it, so it's definitely mine.
Fortunately, Dave took some damage from that bomb earlier, so he's gonna have to do the old-fashioned. He has a hammer suit on reserve. Never mind.
He did make a pit stop after 6.5 to get his hammer suit, so he should be on his way to a sub 125, which I think would put him 13th or 14th. I think be just behind.
Yeah, he should be in.
He'll be between me and Raikou Rider in the standing.
Yeah, I think picking up the hammer suit's really smart for people that are like really in the upper 110s to the low 120s, because you probably have a ton of time to save at other places, and potentially even auto scroller deaths. So you might as well just take the 13 seconds to ensure, if something bad does happen at the end of the run, or something bad does happen at the end of the run, you'll still save like 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's kind of been my mantra about that is, it's kind of a safety net, and it's like if nothing else, I'll have the quick kill on Bowser, if nothing else.
All right, so Dave finishes up with a 124.13. So get your GGs out for him.
Yeah, so said his PB going in was 123, and with some fewer deaths, he's probably definitely sub 120, I'd say. With practice and with time, just kind of learning some of those levels, kind of get those optimized.
I think he can get around a 115. He's good enough. I think his Warpless is about 55. He just needs to learn, some of the auto scrollers if he takes deaths in those and that sort of thing. So
yeah, definitely, I checked before the race. His Warpless PB is a 55 flat, so there you go. Get those guys in, Dave and ibuba7 in for interviews. I'm waiting on that, but nonetheless, this will put us in for that is all the runners, I believe, who have volunteered do the tournament. So we should have the field of 16 ready pretty soon. Know where everybody stands.
yeah, I think we were the last 4.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if.
So I think S Diesel punches his ticket, and that was the last one, and everybody from this one does too. So unfortunately, I think Demon Battler is going to be the odd man out.
Unfortunately, yeah. That's too bad. It is kind of sad that, you know, that cruel game of musical chairs, and unfortunately, he has to be number 17 in this case. But
Yeah.
But again, like it is with like S Diesel and a few of these other guys, you know, good players. You know, and I know Demon's an enthusiastic rando player, and he's made some real strides in that. And I think that, you know, between that and this, you know, he's got a good future ahead of him. Same with Diesel, and Diesel, again, good rando player. And once he learns a lot of the other things, he'll be bringing his time down along with you guys, I think.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he took a death, you know, in his run that he just didn't know that was a mechanic. You know, he didn't know you could get squished on the screen by 5-6, and you know, it's just something you learn from playing. Yeah,
That's something
and
everybody does once. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, you do it once just so you can never do it again. So yeah, I think we can all honestly say, yep, that's happened.
So it looks like we're ready to wrap up shortly. It doesn't look like DaveLindo will be joining us for interviews. I don't think we've heard back from ibuba7. So before we call it a night, Haxor, is there anything you wanted to add about your run or what you expect in the future for this bracket?
Yeah, I think I hit pretty much every difficult strat. The problem was it was like a death by 1,000 cuts thing that prevented me from getting 111, like a good 111, I think, that run. So if I just eliminate, especially the damage I took in the 2 Koopaling fights, that cost me at least a minute, I think. You know, I'll have pretty good times. I think I have to run. You know, if I'm going up against Mitch and Zakubi and Cujo and stuff, I want to run like a 111, but you know, 112 is pretty good too, so I can't really complain too much.
Yeah,
I definitely hear you on that, and yeah, we definitely wish you the best of luck over the course of this tournament. And so as soon as we determine how the bracket shapes up, we'll be scheduling matches accordingly. So I believe that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to give a follow for all of our racers tonight. So
definitely do that. If you haven't already, follow these guys. This is a good race. So thanks to Speedrun GSA for putting this on, and thanks all for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone. And yeah, big thank you again to the GSA folks. So we'll be catching you soon. Thanks for watching, and have a great night. GG's, everyone.
GG's.